How's it going, everybody? It's Ryan here. I got a video for you today. I'm going to do a video on overhead pressing. I got this question by a subscriber. Sorry if I butcher your name. Is Zarini Hasim. Hey Ryan, I like this style of video where you show workout clips with commentary between sets. Can you do a video on scapular control during overhead press? Any knowledge would be much appreciated. Okay, so I was thinking about this for a moment. I was thinking to myself, how do you overhead press? How do you teach overhead press? And there's a lot of different schools of thought. And what I was doing, I was looking online, and there is no better reliable source. I'm pretty good at finding good sources for information because I have background in fitness, training people for a while. The one thing I do have a lot of faith in when it comes to the shoulder, who has the best knowledge, is Eric Cressy. So I simply Googled Eric Cressy overhead press. And I found this really great video on assessment. And I have this issue that he talks about in which I'll link in the description, or maybe I'll make a video about it later on, is simply the issue of having very tight lats. The one thing that's not very discussed, because I watched other videos on overhead pressing, one by the Strength Doc and one by Omar Isuf with, forgot the guy's name, but I had a guest on talking about overhead press to help improve Olympic lifting. And that is, none of them really mention overhead scapula upward rotation, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. And that is simply, well, first of all, one of the videos that he talked about, that Eric Cressy talked about, was simply being able to have the right to overhead press. And the truth about it is, for most people, two movements that require end range is squatting, ATG, or ass to grass, or overhead pressing. Those are end range motions, or near end range motions, right? Squatting, yeah, they are end range motions that have high risk for injury. It's not designed for the entire population because of our current lifestyles and the way a lot of our musculature is very tight. This is the reason why I keep breaking myself with my hip and my problems, is because I squat and my body does not squat well. I force myself to squat because I'm strong, but I push myself into problems. Another issue too is overhead pressing. I push myself into problems. I'm strong, I can push myself, I can get better, but then because I have poor mechanics, I have issues. So what is the problem? Well, let's talk about this for a moment, having the proper flexibility and mobility for overhead pressing. So if I put my hands above my head like so, and I lift my hands, this is about where my restriction is. So I'm going to talk again, bringing my hands above my hand, just gradually lift my arms, and I hit about restriction here on the right arm. See how bad it is? I can force it higher, but that's essentially what my problem is. I have restriction about here. Now if I push it a little bit more, I start to hit a little bit more restriction, and then if I try to keep my core tight and keep my torso in neutral, I get stuck just about right here, okay? Hold on, let me let my daughter back in. Come on, baby. I hit restriction about right here, okay? If I go up a little bit higher, I can push it. I can really force it. Of course, I can artificially create some shoulder flexion by simply arching my back. Like I would, because of my poor mobility, I sort of have to do this, because if the weight's heavy enough, I'm not going to be able to overhead press a ton of weight this way. I have to create a direct line underneath my torso, underneath my hips and heels. Raising my hands above my head, slowly going up, hit restriction here on the right arm. The left arm's actually doing pretty okay. I'll keep my stomach tight. I'll raise my arms a little bit higher, 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 higher. And that's about where I get stuck. Well, now how do I fix this? What's the problem? One of the biggest issues that I'm having, if you want to watch the Eric Cressy video on it, is simply not having enough upward scapular rotation. Part of the reason is tight lats. Part of it's bad motor control. So one of the things that help the scapula rotate up better are the traps. And a lot of the other musculature like the serratus anterior and lower trapezius help stabilize the scapula. So again, going back to this position about my area of restriction, and I hit restriction here. Now, without forcing too much restriction, if I just shrug my shoulders just a little bit, look how much more range of motion I get. Right, I get a little bit more range. It's still pretty bad because you can probably from the side view here you can still see my ear. So my point of showing this to you, let me shrug my shoulders just a little bit more, right? And now I got a little bit more extensibility. Now, this is kind of where overhead shrugs are very effective when trying to help improve mobility and being able to improve shoulder strength. Because a lot of the time we're taught, especially me being in powerlifting, wanting to bench a lot of weight, you want to clamp those shoulder blades back and down. And even when you unrack the weight trying to do an overhead press, like so, you want to clamp the shoulder blades together real tight and then press overhead, right? And I always wonder from this position, should I be trying to pull my shoulders down or should I be trying to shrug my shoulders up? And reality is, when your elbow starts to pass your shoulder, like right around here, your shoulders are supposed, your shoulder blades are supposed to create upward rotation, or your shoulder blades are supposed to go upwards a little bit. Just understand that when I go up, there's got to be some upward rotation. You probably don't want like a crap load of upward rotation, but you do want to have enough. One thing I do have, if you kind of seen me like, you know, when I have my shirt off, or maybe some other videos from older videos, I do have a little bit of downward slope in the shoulder, so I have overly tight lats because I've sort of been taught to cue other people as well as myself to sort of clamp my shoulder blades back and clamp them down super tight because this is a stronger position. But the problem is my lats are super activated. So this makes it difficult for me to get my hands above my head without running into problems, because then this humerus here runs into rotator cuff issues. What do you need to do? Well, you need to focus on being able to shrug your shoulders as you press overhead. Now, although some people might disagree with what I just said there, it is a little bit oversimplified to say that you shrug your shoulders as you push over your head. It's understanding that you have proper scapula control. That means having longer lats, lengthened lats, means you need to foam roll them, you need to stretch them, and having proper motor control. So it's not really just the stretching that's important, it's being able to functionally teach the body to move the way it should. So I'm going to do some overhead pressing here, and let's go ahead, go a little bit outside the shoulders, do some reps here. So I pause up here for a moment, and I can reach up. This is probably what I need to do more of until I can get proper flexibility. Because I've seen some pretty ugly overhead presses, and a lot of the time, one of the reasons why someone's able to overhead press a crap load of weight, or at least this is what my opinion is they're very short, they have shorter arms, so they're able to kind of lever themselves back quite a bit into an incline press while pushing overhead. But that doesn't mean they're not strong, it just means that they're able to use their anatomy to their advantage to create certain leverages. But that was kind of what I wanted to do before I did my workout today. I'm going to be doing some bench press, work out my chest muscles, and yeah, that's my workout. So anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. Click like if you haven't already. Make a request if you want to make a video of something else, and I'll see you guys later.